Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to more minor league esports action. My name is an odd fellow. Joining me in the booth tonight is my good friend Spidey720. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing great, and I'm excited for some twos games that we have coming up. We had some threes prior, and now we have two twos matches coming up. This one going to be Master League of the Hawks at the Aviators.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, this is Minor League Esports brought to you by APM Music. We actually have a pretty good matchup coming up here tonight. The Aviators being, I believe it was 5-5 coming into this. Let me look at this real quick. Excuse me, 10-10 coming into this with a series score of 2-2, and the Hawks being 9-6 with a series score of 1-2. So it should be a pretty close matchup between both of these teams, Spidey.
Yeah, this is going to be a very close matchup. And looking at who's going to be playing today, it is actually going to be the Climax Games and Grant CFO, who actually have an MVPR off by 1/100th of an MVPR, which is a 5.52 and a 5.51. And that's just crazy to have very close. And that just must mean that they're going to work together very well. And they're going to be going against the Hawks, Brandon, and the Ross Effect, which Brandon is a 16 salary with a 5.49 MVPR, and the Ross Effect actually isn't in our system just yet because he has not played a twos match so far. So I don't know if that's going to hurt the Hawks or help them, but I'm excited to see what they have, especially coming from Master League. This is a lot of opportunity to be had.
Yeah, especially with the Hawks going up against the Aviators, essentially a lineup. Both of these players having a 60% win percentage, so it's definitely going to be a test here for the Ross Effect to see how he holds up. See how they hold up in a two setting. But we are getting right underway here in Game 1.
Yeah, this is going to be a great series. I'm excited to see what happens. And honestly, I did a few matches of CL yesterday, and there was a lot of boost starvation and a lot of craziness, and I'm expecting just as much from Master League games like this, especially with a 15, 15-5, and 16 salaries coming around.
Yeah, I was going to say, in these mid to high GC level games, you will see a lot of that. People starting to really get the concept of a field control kind of way to play the game, which is where, as you're saying, there's a lot of boost starvation, and a lot of the game is decided by who is able to win the battle at the midfield line, which is why you start seeing a lot of these games starting off early. But Grant, as I'm talking, is going to get us started off very early, putting his team up 1-0 just 45 seconds into the game.
You know, as you talk about the midfield line, Grant was like, okay, take it from the midfield line, get a little dribble around the defense of the Hawks, get the first goal going there for the Aviators in the first match of a 5-game series. And I mean, that's just a small part of what we're going to see a lot in this series. I feel like there's going to be a lot of easy ball control. And that was definitely a great demonstration right there by Grant to be able to knock that in as an almost right off the post. As we're talking about him, he wants to try to get another one, but he just could not connect. And an open net right now for the Hawks, but they could not capitalize on it as the Aviators get away with one right there and just trying to send it back. And it just looks like it's going to be a little battle back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Grant trying to show everybody that not only can he cast, he can play, as he's coming out swinging so far offensively in this game. But you know, the Aviators doing, or excuse me, the Hawks doing a very good job on the defensive end so far. You know, twos is so tricky because if you play offensively just too much, you're going to get easily beat over the top. But just as well, it can be so difficult to play defensively because even though there's only two players, a lot of teams with good offensive pressure, as Grant makes a beautiful save there, a lot of teams with good offensive pressure can make two players feel like three as Grant tries to get back to this one and is just barely going to save that one off the shot from Brandon.
That looked like a little Fast and Furious move right there, just sliding right into the goal, just waited a second. And yeah, we're going to see a lot of that as Brandon's trying to play the midfield line, gets the boost, gets an awkward flip, and now the Aviators just trying to get it back over to the Hawks side. And the Aviators, yet again, just seem like they're getting a little bit of the back passes that's sending it right back towards their goal. But luckily, their teammate is right there in position to be able to play it again. And now the Aviators just have it backed off as Ross Effect brings it around, tries to get it center, over for his teammate, and gets it cleared out. What a clear coming around. And now it's just boomer ball coming out, just banging it back and forth from each end. That's kind of how you have to wait to catch someone off guard, losing boost or something, but it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to try to get some sort of offensive opportunity with that happening too much.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I was saying that's where twos can be a little bit tricky, because as soon as someone misses or you get a good juke on somebody, you can beat. It's a lot easier to beat two players than three. It's something something that my brother has told me from time and again, is that twos is really just ones plus an extra player, as a shot almost goes in there from Ross Effect. You start seeing a lot of solo play coming in twos, just kind of with the second person in backup. But here, Climax has a chance to put one in. Brandon with a beautiful save, and Climax not able to follow it up, but Grant tries to follow it up as well, gets saved out by Ross Effect. And I tell you what, this Hawks defense is something to look at right now, as Grant just barely gets one over, but Ross is there again to make the save away.
Yeah, 6 shots on goal for the Aviators right now. Hawks only have 4 with another attempt on goal, but a beautiful stop yet again by the Aviators. They are not letting it go past them. Has a shot coming around just wide. Both of the Aviators playing right there. Seems like the Hawks are just not getting any opportunities, and like you said, the ones plays is what you're seeing a lot of right now, which I'm kind of surprised about, without any pass plays coming out. As an almost a pass play came out, and Brandon just couldn't make the connection because he didn't have enough boost. Ross very low, and now the Aviators getting the offensive with the pass. Beautiful over to the corner. Climax ends up getting the mid boost, turns around, gets the pass from Grant, knocks it in, gives a 2-goal lead with just under a minute left.
And this is something that I was going to point out here, was that the Aviators are playing extremely defensively, which is very good in this setting, because it kind of lulls the Hawks into a false sense of security on the offensive side. And as soon as they overcommit, they're getting beat over the top with these incredible clears and passing plays coming out of the Aviators. That's how Grant was able to score earlier, and then obviously we see that score coming in from Climax now. So I think a big thing for the Hawks as we move into Game 2 is going to be, hey, how can we be offensive while still maintaining our defensive rotations as well? Because they've shown they can be solid on defense. They just have to get their defensive rotations from offense down a little bit tighter than they are so far.
Yeah, and the other thing is, going along with that, is making sure that just because you're getting a touch on the ball doesn't mean it's not controlled. And at this rank, we're expecting a lot more ball control and car control. And those ones plays, to be honest, I haven't seen anything too much of the mechanical side just yet, which the Aviators have not had to do. It's just the very basic start, and I mean, it's working out great for them. 5 seconds left. Ross Effect trying to get some more sort of momentum for the Hawks, as he couldn't connect with his teammate at the middle, and Climax just trying to bring it along the wall. Brandon says no, sends it over to Ross Effect, but Ross Effect lets it hit, ends game 1, ends up going to the Aviators 2-0.
Yeah, and this was a beautiful game played, honestly, by both teams. Just as we said, Aviators just being very smart with when they took their offensive opportunities, beating the Hawks when they were getting just a little bit too passive on offense, or more aggressive on offense, playing both players just a little bit out of position and getting beat over the top by that passing play from Grant to Climax, and then Grant just able to sneak a ball past them early in the game as well. But other than those couple of defensive miscues from the Hawks, I thought that game was played extremely well by them, and I think they have a very good opportunity to tie this series up in Game 2, as long as they can, as I said, tighten up those offensive rotations going into it.
Yeah, I mean, 7 shots on goal for the Aviators, 5 for the Hawks. That's great offensive pressure by both teams. But you know that just because it's a shot on goal doesn't mean it's actually helping out the offense in any way just yet. And I feel like those shots should be turning into those midfield lines. Oh, no. I end up accidentally messing up the match, and I am so sorry about that. We're going to have a quick second. Yeah, so having 7 shots on goal is great for the Aviators. It worked out fantastic, having the passes and everything, and being able to have the Hawks try to get something created. It's not really working for them just yet, but as we always know, playing on the stream, sometimes it slows down, messes up a little bit. People have to establish themselves for that first game and see how exactly they go into the second game, see if they end up just shaking off the nerves or something, and that might be exactly what happened with the Hawks.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, honestly, in terms of the Aviators, I don't really think there's much that they need to change. Not much. I think the biggest thing that I noticed from them was that their defensive to offensive rotations could be just a little bit faster at times, because they really only had 2 or 3 good offensive pushes. And I think they have the opportunity for more than that if they can kind of string some more of those passing plays together, because they definitely looks like Grant and Climax are looking for those passing plays a lot more than Brandon and Ross are. So I think if they can use that to their advantage, we can see a much higher score rung up in this game too, especially if the Hawks are not able to fix that defensive rotation that I was talking about.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's just a defensive rotation. It's not being an aggressive rotation. It's just keep the ball in the end and try to honestly bang the ball off the backboard a couple times, let his teammate be able to try to get something. And it's also, I think, a little bit of the communication and trust that needs to come out. As a little bit of a fake comes out, wide open space for both teams to try to get to the ball. Nobody gets to it fast enough, but Brandon tosses it off to the side as Grant is going for a little bit of a air play, gets it down to Ross Effect, dead 50 at the goal line. Climax bails out, but gets bumped by the offender. Brandon gets a perfect bump, dead stops Climax, and Ross Effect takes it all the way in for the Hawks' first goal of the series.
Yeah, and this is one of those team plays that doesn't get talked about nearly enough at this level. Everyone's always looking for the big flashy solo play or the big flashy pass play. Nothing is better than a clean bump that leads to a completely open net. Beautiful play there by Brandon. Amazing communication from the Hawks. Going up 1-0 early in this game is exactly what they needed to get some momentum going back in the series. And Ross piles it on after a little bit of a mistouch there from Grant. Ross, beautiful shot off the corner there.
Yeah, Ross Effect was just positioned beautifully after that hit, dead 50, and he just stayed in the play. Exactly what we were talking about before. You got to create your own play, and sometimes those solo plays work out. Brandon didn't push too much, and Ross Effect was positioned beautifully as another effect comes around for the Aviators to get a quick kickoff goal. Less than a minute in, and we have 3 goals scored so far, and Grant definitely trying to make sure he knows just because they scored, it's not like we can't.
Yeah, Grant's over here like, don't worry, Aviator Nation, I got this. We're staying in this series. You know, the Aviators are doing such a good job making sure that they're not losing control of this game early here. Getting a goal that quickly after going down 2-0 is exactly what they need to maintain momentum in their favor a little bit. Hawks still have a little bit of momentum, obviously, after being up 2-0, but that's goal from Grant really helps, especially after that beautiful save from Grant. But that was a great shot from Brandon as well.
Another shot coming across the whole field off the post, read by Climax, but also read by the Hawks defense. Brandon playing right at the post. Aviators gets a fake. Grant pulls off the fake, blows by the Hawks defense. Actually, the Hawks defense blows by Grant, and it just ends up being a wide open net for him to just walk it in. 3:33 left, tied 2-2. Like you said before, Grant saying, Avi Nation, I got you.
Wow, and this was such a great play out of Grant. Juked Ross so hard that he bumped into Brandon and knocked him out as well. So you got to love it when your solo play takes out the entire enemy team in one go. So beautiful play there by Grant to make that ball go in. But, you know, we are still tied 2-2 here. There's still 3 minutes left to play in this game, and you know, right now the Hawks are doing much better with their defensive rotations, not leaving their back line open as easily as they were in game 1. Ross looking like he's trying to drop this down to Brandon here, but Grant just barely able to break that up, and a beautiful save coming in from Climax.
Yeah, as you said, the whole defensive rotations, we're seeing a lot more, like you said, controlled and overall team play for the Hawks, that they're working out a lot better as team play comes out for the Aviators. Grant plays it around the defense of the Hawks, gets it centered just enough with an awkward touch from Brandon, gives them the 1-goal lead back.
Yeah, awkward touch from Brandon. Ross being, I think, just a little bit too fast onto that challenge, either too fast or too slow. But great play from Grant to read that touch and get it in a great position for Climax to finish it up, as this is looking like it has a chance at a kickoff play, but none of the Aviators deciding they want to play up to it. Climax trying to play this out of the corner, but Ross keeps it in play. Brandon not able to do much with it, knocks it off the back wall here as Grant gets a beautiful clear off the side wall. Looks like Ross just going to chase that down, play it across the net, as I think that was Climax tries to play that down. Grant getting a touch off the backboard, looking to try and get the double touch here, just not enough boost to make it happen as Brandon starts charging it down the field, pass it off to the right-hand side here. Not much happening from the Hawks offensively just yet, but there are still 2 minutes left in this game, and they have a lot of time left to get that final goal back.
Both teams locked in with 6 shots on goal. Now 7 coming out. A beautiful save yet again by Grant. His defense is shut down right now. 4 saves right now already with 2 minutes left in the game. That's insane to have. And a ghost touch, unfortunate for Brandon, trying to get something, trying to get that last second push, give the Hawks that offensive opportunity that you said that they're trying to bug for like crazy, as Grant is just not allowing the ball to leave the Hawks end. and getting it over. Climax going to play it from the corner, and Brandon just trying to get that clear and set something up. Almost a little bit of a redirect right there. Grant sends it over to the other corner, and now it looks like Ross Effects hoping to get something, but he could not, and now the Hawks actually kept it in just enough, but couldn't get any opportunity. And as we said before, it seems like they're having some issues just trying to generate those offensive plays after the first minute.
Yeah, and it's almost starting to look like they're panicking just a little bit. I'm starting to see a lot more, miscues between the two of them. A lot of double commits and miscommunications here, but here's a chance as Ross puts a beautiful shot just underneath the Aviators defender. Beautiful pass from Brandon. Great play from the Hawks here to tie it up with 60 seconds left.
Yeah, that's the kind of mechanics I was expecting to hope to see more often than not. And Brandon coming out, getting that extra fire on the ball right around the Aviators defense, and got it center for his teammate to be able to knock it in, tie it up with a minute left. And that's the kind of offensive opportunities we need to see a little bit more of, as Grant's trying to take it from the ceiling with minimal boost. Now it's a 2v1 opportunity coming around, but Climax gets a deflection over the corner. Isn't enough, and Grant yet again at the goal line, just standing hard at the goal line and just not letting it go in. Even though it's tied up, 30 seconds left, open net for the Hawks. They end up nailing it. Ross brings it over, tucks it in, takes the lead yet again for the Hawks.
Yeah, beautiful save there from Grant, but unfortunately all for naught as Ross Effect bumps Climax just enough out of the play to maintain control, and then Grant unfortunately missing his touch to try and keep it in play. So beautiful plays there from the Hawks to take a 4-3 lead with 30 seconds left. There is still a little bit of time here for the Aviators to make something happen, especially if they can get some good clears, as they just have Climax try to make it happen. This ball is still dangerous in front of the Hawks net, but a beautiful save from Ross. That was definitely looking sketchy there for a second.
That floater, I was worried for a second for the Hawks. I was just floating down just enough, but as I think it was the Ross Effect, came out of nowhere, just was picking up a couple pennies, and the couple pennies helped them out just enough. Brandon getting it over, trying to kill it, tries to get something, got it on goal, but couldn't score it. Game 2 down in the books. Hawks claim game 2, and that was a close match to the end. Started off strong and finished strong.
Yeah, exactly, and that was a significantly better game offensively from the Hawks. You know, Ross Effect putting the team on his back there, getting all 4 goals, 1 assist from Brandon. But I think the big thing to look at here is 12 shots on goal for the Hawks as opposed to 6 for the Aviators. And I think the biggest thing to do here is that with that 6-shot differential, it was only a 1-goal difference. And I think that says a lot about the Aviators' defense that game.
Talking of that defense, I think it's definitely being anchored with Grant just coming out of nowhere constantly. Getting those hits, he's getting it off the crossbar, coming out of nowhere to save Climax. It's not saying that it's Climax's fault that the shots are coming, but Grant is just solid on the defense and the offense, and now the Aviators need to try to step it back up like they did the first game. So far, we've seen more shots on goal or winning the games, and we need to see if that continues or not, because the Hawks generated all those shots within the last minute and a half, because they had 6 shots at about the 2-minute mark, not even. So yeah. I'm hoping that they continue that, but then again, the Aviators have too strong of an offense, and I don't think they're going to go without a fight.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And I completely agree with you. The Hawks need to have that kind of offensive intensity that they had in the last 2 minutes of that game 2 there throughout the entirety of these next couple of games if they want to have a chance to beat this offense from the Aviators, because while their defense is good, their offense is just as efficient. As we said, only 6 shots on goal for them, and they had 3 total goals, so 50% shooting percentage coming in from them as opposed to I believe it's a 30% from the Hawks off that last one, 12 shots and 4 goals. So, you know, if the Hawks can come out with more offensive intensity, they might have something going here. But Grant, 20 seconds into this game, already putting his team up 1-0.
One of my absolute favorite plays in the book is the doink. Get it right off your hood and get it just right. That was a beautiful play. 65 miles an hour. That's a hard ball to try to defend if you're the Hawks. Great quick turnaround for the Aviators, and that's exactly what they needed, because they started off strong first game. They ended up pulling out the win. They start off strong this game. Hopefully they continue with it.
Yeah, Climax trying for a cheeky little double tap there, but, you know, and again, I was saying about this a little bit in game one as Climax gets another beautiful save off the backboard there. Is that one of the big things, it's more prevalent in threes, but I think it's just as important in twos, is that kind of battle at the midfield line, keeping players from sneaking past you. That's something that the Aviators have been doing really all night, is just kind of sneaking players past that 50-yard line to set up these passes, but big demo coming in from, coming onto Ross there, but unfortunately, the Aviators not able to capitalize on it as we still see a 1-0 game here. Ross Effect gets a nice little easy save off the floater from Climax. Grant trying to control this into the corner, gets cleared out by Brandon, but Climax is going to wait there and get some control here. Gets it fired over across, but Brandon is going to get the demo to keep Climax from being able to follow up. And I think the defensive play from the Hawks so far, barring that first goal, has been pretty solid in this first minute and a half.
It definitely has, and we're seeing a lot more of these offensive opportunities coming from demos and bumps. And Grant capitalizes on the fact that his teammate got demoed, and it slowed down, and his teammate lost possession, or lost sight of his teammate, and ended up just taking advantage of it beautifully. Grant knocking it in, giving the 2-0 lead with 3.5 left is exactly what the Aviators need, because that's how they start off game one.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that bump there in the corner is just more evidence of this miscommunication that I've been seeing from the Hawks really all night, and that's something that they really have to tighten down if they don't want to lose this series. I mean, it is tied 1-1, and we are in Game 3, but, I mean, eventually those miscues are going to keep piling up, and Aviators are going to notice it and start taking advantage of them, so Hawks really going to have to start paying attention to, you know, in-game comms and working together a little bit more here, as it looks like they're just not quite on the same page. Oh, as Grant is going to get a beautiful carry. But the bar. Oh, the bar is not your friend tonight, Grant. That was almost a beautiful shot.
He was running low on boost, and now the turnaround comes over. Ross Effect just gets it from Brandon. Honestly, he didn't even need to hit it, but Brandon gets a good pinch from Grant, which was low on boost on the way back after trying to go for that air drag. Couldn't get back fast enough, and now the Hawks cut the lead in half with 2:50 left, and that's exactly what we were trying to get them to do all the other games so far, is get that quick transition offense and make it be very productive. As Grant's jumping, Brandon gets it off of the dunk of Grant as he challenges the ball. Couldn't get saved by Climax either, and the Hawks tie it up simultaneously after the kickoff.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful shot from Brandon here, obviously getting the double tap off of the backboard, but then the car position to put his shot in exactly the right spot to make it an awkward save for Climax there, putting it just out of his reach. Very smart individual play there from Brandon, and that is why these solo plays are so deadly, especially in twos, as, we see a little floater here coming in from Brandon, but unfortunately that one not able to fall. Brandon playing this one off of the side wall here. Looking like he's going to try and get another dunk over Climax, but that one is going to go just wide, and Ross is playing a little bit more passive here as we are tied 2-2. Climax tries to make a shot here. Grant looked like he was going in for the demo, but not able to get that, and right now the Aviators are putting some offensive heat here on the Hawks.
They definitely are, and they need to try to get something back, because when they start off strong, they're definitely keeping it going, but Brandon is trying to pound that backboard, trying to get some sort of opportunity, as Ross Effect's going to keep it in. And now we're seeing a lot more of the Hawks doing exactly what the Aviators were doing the first game, which is keep that offensive presence and offensive pressure constantly. Even though the Aviators have one more shot on goal, it's definitely showing that the Hawks are trying to keep that consistent pressure on them. And it's just working out so well so far that it's helped them out to tie up the game, as another push almost got the fake right there, but could not quite get it at the midfield line. And now Aviators just getting that little bit of a struggle trying to get back for that last second save. And it started hurting them a little bit, but it looks like it's working out for now.
Yeah, it looked like the Aviators were starting to get a little bit more offensively aggressive there, which I think, as you said, was starting to hurt them a little bit on their rotations back to defense. But Ross looks like he's going to try and make something happen here, but just barely not able to do so. And the Hawks' offensive rotations have been so much tighter this game, and that's what's allowing them to keep that pressure on. They're just constantly rotating a player in and out and in and out. But then again, right there, we see a little bit of a double commit coming in from them. And again, I'm just seeing these signs of miscommunication between Brandon and Ross. Right now, it's not hurting them too much. But again, as the series goes on, I think the Aviators are going to start keying in on that and start taking advantage of those miscues when they happen.
as you're talking about miscues, there was a pass opportunity that came for the Hawks, and they actually didn't even capitalize on it even after the double commit, which I was very surprised about because it was a 2v1 opportunity, and they really didn't try to capitalize on it as a shot comes out from Climax but could not connect, and Ross Effect gets bumped, and now is still going to take possession right around Grant, and now yet again another 2v1 opportunity but could not get capitalized on as Brandon just sends it a little too slow. Climax tries to get the clear. Grant does actually get it out of their end. And now we just need to see those pass plays. And I feel like that's going to be what the shot on goal that's going to claim it is the pass play or the ball that's going to be a quick one-timer shot that's just going to catch the defense off guard.
Oh, this could be it right here. Oh, but a beautiful save from Ross to keep this game going into overtime. And we are going to see our first overtime of this series as we see Climax kind of beating out Ross a little bit on that kickoff. But Brandon is there waiting, gets the ball over one, gets it past Grant. Is he going to be able to make something happen here? Unable to solo play it. And Ross just a little bit late to get there. Beautiful job by Grant to recover and get back and make that save. But Brandon's still putting it up with the double dunk over Climax. Beautiful shot from Brandon. 19 seconds into the overtime, takes this game 3 in favor of the Hawks.
You know, I stand corrected. Brandon's like, you said team play. I'll tell my teammate just rotate back, be ready middle. I'll push it in. I'll keep the aggression because I got the corner boost. Let's see what can happen. And it ends up working out very beneficial for the Hawks on that game, having 10 shots on goal, just like the Aviators. But that was a great game coming down to the overtime. Like you said, very early in the overtime, but when in the Hawks benefit, and that's exactly what Brandon was hoping for.
Exactly, and I think one of the other things to kind of notice is that the Hawks played much more physical this game. Brandon coming in with the Executioner medal, getting 3 demolitions by himself. I saw so many more demos this game than we have in all the other games in this series, and I think that that's working for the Hawks, is getting that physicality in there and like forcing the rotations to be bad for the Aviators by removing a player from the rotation. And I think that if they can keep doing that, it's definitely going to work in their favor. But again, they need to work on this communication issue that they seem to be having and kind of tone down on the double commits, because it will eventually start biting them in the butt a little bit.
Especially when you're playing twos, you have 2 people. If you double commit, that's everybody going for the ball. You can't have that happen. And especially in Master League and Premier League, these are the 2 leagues that have the most accurate players, and you really don't want to have an opportunity to be had too easily of an open net. And I mean, I was looking at the stat as well. One of the things that stood out to me is the Aviators had 8 saves, 8 total saves on 10 shots on goal. There were 3 goals scored by the Hawks. That's insane to be able to have, but that's also forcing a lot of things that the Hawks are just trying to pound that ball in when there was only 5 saves on the Hawks side from the Aviator shot. So we need to see those Aviators try to pull out the pass play that they caught early in the first game and try to keep that going and try to get a little bit more control, because even though they're getting the same shots on goal, it seems like they're not as accurate as what the Hawks are right now.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of coming down to rotational speed just a little bit as Climax, 15 seconds into this game, once again, we see the Aviators going up early after a beautiful juke play by Climax there.
I can't even say anything about it. That's just a hard ball to challenge. Climax played that absolutely beautifully. 15 seconds in, and this is the start yet again that the Aviators hope for. But the issue that they're having right now is trying to keep it going or trying to keep piling on all those goals. And right now, a pass to center, it doesn't go for his teammate. It actually gets sent above by Grant. And now a clear by Ross trying to get it something. Brandon actually just sends it right to the Aviators offense, and they're just not getting anything from these touches. It just seems like they're just trying to get the ball a little bit cleared and try to get something out of it, but it's not really going the way they want.
Yeah, I think that's another issue that they've really been having all series, is that the Hawks have just been kind of clearing the ball out, as a beautiful save coming in there from Climax. And it looks like the Hawks are going to be able to rotate back into position here. Climax sees that and just decides to leave it. Looked like they were trying to make a little bit of something happen there, but not able to get anything done as Climax plays this one past Brandon, but Brandon's able to turn around and play it off the back wall. Now Grant going to play this up off the sidewall. Ross tries to challenge it, but does miss, but Brandon is going to be there to clear it away to the other side. Climax having to turn around here and keep Ross from getting the clear. Ball still bouncing around at the midfield line. Brandon putting a shot towards the net, but Grant is going to be there to make the save. And right now, the Aviators are doing everything they can here, but the Hawks are just turning everything away. But the big thing with the Hawks is that they're just booming these clears downfield and just turning possession right back over to the Aviators and not really getting too much offensive control in their favor, which could be leading to more goals, but great save there from Brandon.
As we're talking about, or as I mentioned before, the shot accuracy that was just not there for the Aviators. They have 2 shots on goal, and one of them was the goal and the other one was just that shot that was saved. I mean, that's exactly what the Aviators need, and the Hawks are just not getting it this game. And one of the biggest things I think with Rocket League is you just need to be very consistent. Try not to do too much, but be consistent. As Climax gets it tucked into the top shelf right past the Hawks defense. 3 minutes left, gives a 2-goal lead, and speaking of consistency, he has definitely been able to get those flicks and hits exactly where he's been wanting to whenever he has those offensive pushes.
Exactly. You know, people can rip on the Dominus as much as they want. This is why at one point in time I was a Dominus main. You get those beautiful flicks from those flat car hitboxes, and that is exactly what he got there. You know, pixel perfect top bar there, just barely not getting a bar down out of that. Nothing that Ross could really do to make that save. So beautiful shot there from Climax. It looks like he's getting another opportunity here, but Brandon is going to be there to clear it away. But again, it's right back to Grant here, and then Grant get a beautiful touch off the backboard. This ball is still in position for the Aviators as Brandon misses his touch right in front of the net, but Ross is there to try and help him out. Grant winning his 50 here, putting it back, also gets the demo on Ross, gets the demo on Brandon as well. That's a double demo here. The Aviators going to be able to take advantage of this offensive miracle they have here. Grant floats it down over the top. Brandon tries to get it, but Climax says, no, sir.
That was a beautiful play by Grant, very heads up. Being able to try to get the double demo caused them to spawn with only 33 boost, even though it might have been more with them what they had. It caused them to both actually spawn on the same side, which is just unfortunate RNG for the Hawks. Gets it over, Grant gets a tuck, and Climax is like, this looks really close, I gotta come in, and ends up nailing it away to be able to get a 3-goal lead. As a beautiful double touch comes out from Brandon, coming out of nowhere off the kickoff, tosses it up to himself, ends up getting a little bit of an extra touch, tosses it down. I thought he actually was very close to missing, but not only that, it was right in front of Grant. I didn't think he expected it to be down on his hood. It did not. Hawks end up getting an extra goal, being only down by 2 with 2:11 left.
Yeah, and we're seeing some of that, we're obviously seeing some of this backboard training that Brandon has clearly been doing over his time coming to fruition here. Second beautiful backboard shot that he's gotten all night. And, you know, I think Brandon is just really, if Brandon can put more of those individual solo plays together, I think the Hawks are going to be in a really nice spot. The problem is they're not maintaining control when they rotate from defense to offense. I've been saying it for most of this game. A lot of their clears are just booming possession right back over the Aviators, as we're seeing Ross do right here as Climax gets a dangerous back pass. That almost being an own goal, but worked out in his favor, you know, and that's something I see a lot, honestly, at this Masters League level, is a lot of these really touchy backboard kind of back passes, which almost end up being own goals. But, you know, hey, these guys have played a lot more Rocket League than me, so they clearly know what they're doing.
They're definitely getting opportunities as another double demo comes out from Grant, but could not be capitalized on as it was an awkward positioning for the ball. Grant just trying to get something created. And as you're talking about, all these play creations need to come out. I just was looking at the stat line, and Ross just has 3 shots on goal, but he doesn't have anything else in the stat line just yet. And it seems like it's just very one-sided because, as you said before, Brandon's hitting these double touches and hitting these solo plays, and Ross definitely needs to step it up and try to do a little bit more for Brandon, because it seems like he's definitely trying to help out a lot. But we need to get something going, get a pass to center, get those assists up, get those plays created by causing the havoc at the end, get those demos as he's rotating out, because Grant's obviously trying to get his demos in and trying to get his executioner for this game.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, clearly we've seen the mechanical skill from Brandon. Ross doesn't necessarily need to get a goal himself. Well, obviously that would definitely help. He just needs to put the ball in a favorable position for Brandon to just knock it in, as we've seen that Brandon has the opportunity to put these shots pretty much anywhere. But right there, Ross gets a beautiful shot over the top of, I believe that was Grant there. Just beautiful over the top shot there. Grant looking like he just kind of lost track of the ball a little bit, but 12 seconds left. And the Hawks find themselves down by only 1.
I mean, we did see that there was a little bit, might have been a little bit of an issue, but we just didn't know exactly. But that was a beautiful play. We talked about Ross effect just a second ago, saying he needed to do a little something, and then what happens? He ends up hearing us or something. It's that caster curse that everybody talks about, and he just nails it away. Absolutely beautiful touch. but the Aviators are still going to come out with this game. This is game 4. Aviators take it, put the series at 2-2, and this is exactly the kind of series that I always love to see, especially when I'm casting, to be able to see a nice close series.
Yeah, exactly. And the series win is going to come down to this game 5 here to determine who's going to come away with the series victory here. While game victories are obviously important for playoffs going down the line, and both these teams getting 2 wins here is big for both of them. You still want to see who's going to come out on top, get that 3rd win, get the series victory. But man, Climax just was a whole nother animal this game. Came out with 3 goals, 2 saves, 7 shots on goal just by himself. But again, the biggest stat line there was the lack of stats from Ross. You know, not trying to rip on him too much, but he definitely needs to do a lot more to kind of help Brandon out, as it looks like Brandon's trying to do a lot of stuff himself for his team.
Solo plays are great, especially when it comes down to the twos gameplay and everything. But like we said, you can't expect only one player to be able to do something. We just need to have a little bit more realization of, hey, we need to hit the ball and have a more controlled touch. As Climax just goes up, tries to get a solo play as Grant hits Demo from behind. And Brandon, once again, trying to do a little bit of a solo play, trying to get it around the Aviators defense. As he does, Ross gets it on goal, but off the crossbar, goes down. Wide open net opportunity for Climax. He's trying to get it all the way across the field. Could not get full control. Grant's going to try to toss it up. Ends up getting deflected off to the side by Brandon. And now we're just seeing a quick turn of events right there. Just going from one end to the other on quick turnarounds. And that's, you know, those are the types of plays I love to see. It's just unfortunate that neither team was able to capitalize. There's another shot on goal coming across. And Ross ends up tucking it in the left side, catching the Aviators sleeping. Gets a perfect little power touch off to the corner. Lob 60 miles an hour, tucked it as far left as possible without hitting the post. And you can't get anything better than that. As we're talking about him, Ross Effect getting the first goal for the Hawks, 4:15 left.
Yeah, Ross definitely driving around down there with his windows rolled down here, and us talking about him going like, okay, guys, I got you. Watch this. And getting a beautiful shot there to put his team up 1-0, 60 seconds into this game. And now Brandon is going to try and play this one up off the sidewall, but Grant is there at the midfield to beat it. But Ross gets a beautiful bang almost on net there, but Climax barely is able to stretch out and get the save. Brandon winning his 50 here, keeping ball on the Aviator side of the field. Ross looking like he mistouched just a little bit here. Trying for a little bit of a back pass to Brandon, who's going to pop this up. Grant is going to be there to clear it away from the backboard, but Ross is right here in the corner. Tries to get a little bit of a slow touch, but Climax is there to clear it away. And this Hawks offense is looking completely different in this first minute and a half of this game 5.
As we're talking about the Hawks offense looking different, I think the Aviators defense looks just as different too. I'm seeing some more double commits, a couple opportunities that are getting squandered because there's a little bit too much of miscommunication now. That the Aviators are like, yeah, we ended up taking game 4, but that doesn't mean that we're playing the best. I mean, it was close. Climax had a shot on goal, but just couldn't end up getting it after a demo came out. Brandon just going to try to get a banger over Climax, could not get it over, but he's still going to keep possession, try to get something created for his team. But once again, the Aviators double commit on the back wall, and it just looks like there's a little bit of miscommunication yet again. A double bump coming out. Ross Effect tried to pass it back, but his teammate nowhere to be found because he actually came in for the offensive push. And now the Hawks at an awkward position. Grant getting the demo and getting the bump and just gave Climax a wide open net to shoot at. You can't ask for anything better to shoot at than that wide open of a net. Perfectly open for Grant.
That was beautiful commitment there from Grant to go from the demo and still chase down the save, or excuse me, chase down the bump there, and great positioning from Climax to see what Grant was doing. That is where that team communication comes in so crucial. Climax kind of being aware of, okay, I'm the last guy here, but we know that we can play up kind of close, and so beautiful play from them, but this shot almost gets cleared out. Brandon is there at the 50 to keep it in play, and we're seeing this ball living on the Aviator side of the field, except for that one goal there. You know, the Hawks doing a fantastic job keeping offensive pressure on, but the Aviators are just turning them away at every opportunity. Hawks already having 5 shots on goal, all coming from Ross, while the Aviators only having 3 total shots. So I think the Aviators need to start getting some more of these controlled clears out and start maintaining more ball control so they can get some better offensive possessions here.
As people say, offense wins games, defense wins championships. We're seeing a lot of great defense by the Aviators, but the transition, I think, is honestly the most important thing in Rocket League, is how well you can rotate. As a crazy fake comes out, Climax tries to get it on goal, but just didn't have the angle. trying to get a team play for Ross, gets it around his own teammate, and gives the Aviators a great offensive chance right here. Climax tries to get a little doink over to his teammate, but could not get it. Hawks try to get a hard clear. Grant's going to turn on this, try to keep it in, and trying to keep that pressure as the ball is cleared back to Climax and just could not get enough of a touch. This may give a good opportunity for the Hawks, but nobody's actually pushing it, so Grant has open space to be able to bang this off the backboard and try to create those opportunities and see who makes a mistake first, because once again, it has been happening a lot in this series. Tied up game, and we're seeing it again as a pass play's coming out. Climax tries to get it on, but he just could not get the connection that he wanted. And Grant's just going to try to toss this in and keep this pressure up. Constant shots on goal.
Yeah, now all of a sudden the Aviators have really turned up the offensive pressure here. A lot more shots coming in from them. Already 3 more shots on goal just in the last minute and a half or so, putting the total for them up to 6. And right now the Hawks are having some issues with the offensive transition, going from defense to offense. But a great little tee-up clear there from Ross Effect off the top of Brandon. Grant trying to play this around, keeping it away from the Hawks players. Ross coming up for the challenge, gets a beautiful 50 in the air off of Grant, but Climax is there, misses his shot, and a huge double demo there between Ross and Grant. So we're going to see a little bit of a 1v1 here, but Climax wins his 50 with Brandon. Ross playing this one up off the top wall. Grant patiently waiting down there, gets the ball over the top of Brandon. That was a little bit dangerous, but beautiful patience from Grant there to make that play.
As we're talking about patience, Climax getting the shot on goal, gets deflected by Brandon. Brandon comes back around, ends up getting the touch. And talking about the patience and the gameplay possibilities, we talked about Ross Effect not being able to do too much. You'll get a stat line right now. He has 6 shots on goal. He is the only goal for the Hawks right now and a save. And so far, Brandon doesn't have those shots as much as what he did before. So I'm kind of curious as to know what might have gone on in between those games to notice, hey, we need to get something. And I think Brandon, if he steps it up and both of them are playing right on par with each other, the Hawks are going to pull out the series. But the Aviators are connecting a lot more recently, as Grant's getting a good clear out, gets a mid boost, trying to get a center. Can he get it over to his teammate? He cannot. The Ross Effect gets it sent around, gets a little wall pinch, but has no boost to follow up, as the Aviators are going to try to play their own offensive push, but gets denied by Brandon, keeping it in the Aviator side.
Yeah, and it did not surprise me to see the Hawks players running out of boost there. As Grant did a great job boost starving, grabbing both the mid boost and one of the Hawks corner boosts as well, to keep as little boost in the Hawks tanks as they could. Grant looking like he's trying to get a good shot here, just barely gets saved out by Ross, but beautiful play there from Grant to kind of get a little bit of an underneath, almost a reverse dunk there. But beautiful solo play coming in from the Aviators so far, but this ball just getting knocked back and forth. Beautiful shot on Cole. Grant with a little bit of a squishy save off the roof of the goal there. Brandon playing this into the corner, trying to get it past Grant, but Ross does lose that 50. Grant gets a big clear here. That is going to be somewhat of an open net. Hopefully the Hawks can rotate back in here effectively. Grant loses a little bit of control. Climax just going to play it off the wall here. Gets a little bit of an awkward bounce off the corner, but does get the touch over to Grant. Grant just trying to play this in control in the middle for his teammate, but Climax smartly going to back off towards the midfield line, and right now we're just seeing shots coming in, and Climax is finally going to do it over the top of, I believe, that was Ross Effect, and the Aviators are going to take the 2-1 victory in overtime and the series 3-2 in this Game 5.
That's exactly what kind of thing I expected for this game to end on, is a crazy bounce off the wall that is so hard to be able to read no matter what level you're at, and playing from the backboard is exactly what you kind of expect for those the shadow defense and everything. And honestly, Climax just sticking with it, getting that dominance control that he's had all series, making sure with 10 shots on goal total for the Aviators, when the Hawks had 8 shots on goal and every single one of them was by the Ross Effect. In comparison to every other game of the series that we had, Ross didn't do too much on the offensive side. That time he was like, I'm going to take the reins, Brandon. It didn't, unfortunately, work out in their favor, though. And we're hoping that they can end up trying to fix something up for the future. But it was a great series played, very close series, 3-2 towards the Aviators. And they actually jumped up probably from 18th to about 16th with that.
Yeah, and that is exactly the kind of series I was expecting out of these two teams. You know, extremely close the entire time, going to Game 5, going to overtime in Game 5, 2 total overtimes, pretty much every game within at least 1 or 2 goals of each other, and just absolutely beautiful play coming out from both those teams. I'll be honest, the play styles from both teams were honestly very similar. A lot of leaning towards the defensive side of play style there, but, you know, Aviators were just able to make it happen. A lot more passing plays for them. They were able to kind of cut through the defense a little bit more. The Hawks got the ball rolling in physicality, getting a lot more demos and bumps later in the games, but then the Aviators turned right around and started doing the same thing. So beautiful series out of both teams. Good games to both teams. Obviously, congratulations to the Aviators for taking that one. So for right now, we are going to throw it to a quick break as we get ready for our next lineup, which is going to be the Eclipse versus the Lightnings in Premier 2's action. This has been Minor League Esports presented by APM Music. I am an Odd Fellow. He is Spidey720. We will be right back after this break.